Fast fashion. If you haven't heard of it, you're probably living underneath a rock, and I wanted to talk about it and cosplay today. G'day everyone, welcome back to another Catch Up with Kiralee. Today I wanted to have a bit of a sit down and a bit of a yarn with you all in regards to fast fashion. This is a topic that is very dear to my heart, and I've been wanting to make a video about this for quite some time, but I didn't quite know how to formulate my words. However, I'm just gonna try today. This is actually a topic that has been very near and dear to my heart for over a decade. Before I even started cosplaying, I was making costumes for stock photography, and one of the very first costumes that I did was actually made from scrap fabrics because I was concerned with the amount of waste that I could see with different garments and offcuts of costumes that were being thrown away. This is a photo of it right here. To this day, I'm still very proud of this. It took me about 2 months to complete, and it was all hand sewn. It was made up of curtain fabrics and different offcuts of lycra and I think a lace cardigan that my friend was going to throw away. Like literally anything that was green, I cut up and I sewed into it. And I really loved how it turned out. And I had a lot of comments in regards to it on good old DeviantArt where I posted my images. And it was roughly around about this time that I came up with the term scrap epic, meaning creating something epic out of scrap materials. And about 1 or 2 years after I created that costume, I actually created an Etsy store called Scrap Epic, which sold boleros and also little bustle skirts and like hair bows, little bits and pieces like that, using only recycled materials that were donated to me or were going to be thrown away. So then when I came into cosplay, I decided to kind of bring this theme in, and so every year that I've been cosplaying, I've created at least one cosplay that has been scrap epic based. And it was so exciting to me that last year when Alana Owler and myself issued the Scrap Epic Challenge, so many of you guys jumped forward and said, yeah, I want to do that too. And I really want to thank you for that. And I've got some photos to show off your work later on, as well as a really exciting announcement in regards to the World Cosplay Summit and a competition that they're running, but more on that later. For now, I want to explain for those who don't know what fast fashion is, what it is and how it relates to cosplay. So in summary, fast fashion is the type of fashion which is made quickly, sold quickly at a low price, it's worn quickly and it's thrown away quickly. It has a very short life cycle. Fast fashion has been an ongoing issue since the 1990s, and it has been speeding up and speeding up and speeding up to the point where now, after oil, it's the second most polluting industry in the world. Fast fashion has high carbon emissions. It's more than air travel and sea travel combined. It also has a lot of water issues associated with it in terms of pollution and microfibers going into the water. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But also in terms of waste, it's a huge problem in terms of landfill. And then kind of stacked on top of that, you've got to think about where these pieces of clothing are being made, and usually it's in places like Bangladesh and India and places where the workers are being abused in a variety of different manners and are working in very unsafe conditions. So just touching on water usage a bit, because this is a real big issue, is that it accounts for 20% of wastewater globally. We're talking about harmful chemicals and dyes that are going into fresh water systems, into oceans, into rivers. It's killing fauna and flora and also human lives. So while we're talking about water, I also want to talk about microfibers and the dangers of those. Now, with microfibers, they are obviously microscopic fibers that come off polyester fabrics. Now, 60% of the fabrics that are used in fast fashion are polyester fabrics. So when we're washing the fabrics, the microfibers are coming off and going into the water systems. Some argue to be a bigger issue than big chunks of plastic that are floating in the ocean. Microfibers, you can't see them, yet the marine life are, taking it in. So when you're eating fish, you could be ingesting plastic. You're just not necessarily seeing it. The other thing about polyester is that it's highly energy intensive to create. It takes about 2.5 times more energy to create a polyester fabric than it does cotton, which means more carbon emissions. But I mean, cotton is the next kind of tiered down in terms of fast fashion, but they're not ethically sourced and they're using a whole lot of pesticides. Can you see where I'm going with this in terms of fast fashion as just this kind of cycle of badness? And the thing is that because fast fashion has this short life cycle of creation and then selling and then wearing and then discarding, 85% of the fast fashion clothes end up in landfills. So don't think that just putting them into your salvos bin or, you know, Goodwill bin or whatever it is that you have is going to save it from going to landfill. These places are inundated with fabrics that they can't sell and they can't use, and so it's sold on to like another grouping of people who either make rags or sell it on to third world countries, or it ends up in landfill. Okay, so I know that I've just kind of yelled at the camera for a little bit, and for that I'm sorry. You can see that I get quite passionate about this, but the point that I'm trying to make is that this also relates to cosplay. When you are buying cosplays from places like eBay or AliExpress or any of the other kind of costume websites out there, and you're buying them at, like, say, anywhere under, I don't know, $200 or something like that, at least $200 Australian, you're buying products that are made out of synthetic fabric usually, plus also being made in conditions that could very well be on par with the fast fashion industry as a whole. Now, there's a kind of backwards and forwards kind of argument in regards to this of whether or not, you know, this is something that we should be doing. You know, for all the things that I've mentioned so far, we shouldn't be doing. There's also the side of the argument where it's saying, look, what about the workers? You know, that's their job, that's their livelihood. There's also, you know, a lot of these workers are young women who this is really their only skill set. So this is where the ethical dilemma kind of starts. And the thing is that I'm not perfect. Even though I make most of my costumes, and sure, I have used a whole lot of my stash for Scrap Epic, I have bought 2 fast fashion costumes. One of which was for the World Cosplay Summit for one of the parade outfits because I literally ran out of time. And the second one was a school uniform from My Hero Academia. I got one and I bought one for my husband, and we made that conscious decision knowing that we were going to be wearing those costumes quite a few times. And I guess that's where it's important when you're making the decision to buy a cosplay online, is to think, okay, how many times am I going to be wearing this? And also to stop and think, if I was to make this, how much would I spend on materials, and how long would it take me to make it, and what sort of wage would I want to be paying myself? If the answer is this is very, very cheap, then you're probably buying some sort of fast fashion. However, what do we do moving forward from here? Well, the very first thing that I would say is definitely look at making your own costumes if you're not already doing so. And try to use materials that have been ethically sourced if at all possible. The other thing that I've done, and I really thoroughly enjoy, is to donate and swap fabrics with your friends. Cosplay is such a fantastic community and we all have stashes, right? So why not have a look at your friend's stash and they have a look at yours, and if you've got a project that you're doing, see if there's anything that you can use. And the big one, the absolute big one that drives me insane, wear your costume more than once. You have spent so much time and effort and potentially money making this cosplay. Show it off more than once. Okay, I feel a lot lighter. That's now off my chest. So I wanted to finish off with a little bit of a celebration and a little bit of a more positive note by sharing now some photos of some of the people who entered the Scrap Epic Challenge. Myself and Alana Owlette absolutely loved seeing all of the photos that were coming through on social media with the hashtag of Scrap Epic or Scrap Epic Challenge. Thank you guys so much, and for, you know, reducing the carbon footprint slightly. The other thing that I mentioned at the start of this video was the World Cosplay Summit and their competition that they're running, which I think you guys would be interested in. It's called the Cosplay de Yumigomi Zero Award, and there's an award there for costume. The costume award is for costumes that are made out of recycled or reused pieces of fabric, and also other things that would end up in landfill. So whether that be containers or pieces of plastic or whatever. If you've used it in your cosplay, you can enter this competition. And how you enter is that you simply make a post in your social media accounts and you just post it with the hashtag #EcoCos. I'll have a link in the comments below in regards to the competition itself if you want to check it out. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching right to the end. I really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment below. I'll see you all next time. Bye!